Hey guys, this is Eartha and I'm super excited to unpackage my Skin Illustrator Bruise palette with you. So let's go! This palette is an alcohol activated palette. So I went to Nigel for special effects and just everything over there. And you need to use a 99% isopropyl alcohol. So the point to this is they said this is super strong, so you need to either have ventilation. So beside me, I'll show you real quick, I have an open window right beside me, and I usually close my window for noises, but I have to keep it open for ventilation, which means we're gonna hear my neighbors have some house stuff going on. Might hear airplanes, and my awesome little 6-year-old is here too, so we might just get some singing. The noises. And there goes the saw. I'm going to be doing bruises and cuts for a pilot coming up, and so after all the research I've done, and thank you all my fellow YouTubers for your amazing information and tutorials, without you I'd be dead. Thank you. Okay, so this palette, the Skin Illustrator FX, I haven't even opened it yet, and when I got it I was like petting it. I was like, my baby. My baby. Okay, so as you know, I do all of my looks just with makeup, and sometimes I use Liquitex white or black because my makeup doesn't have a stark white or black. So I'm really excited because this is my very first, very professional, super-de-duper-de professional palette. Oh, oh, oh. I'm just so happy. Okay, let's go. Opening it up. Okay, I first reviewed this all over Amazon, just websites, special effects sites, and the first thing I noticed people saying was the cups were half full and dry and crackly. Now this is supposed to be that way because it is highly pigmented. Okay, it's not gonna come off on your finger. Let's see if the green, nope. It does not come off. See, it's hard. Okay, this is not a cream palette. This is not wax. This must be activated with strictly the activator, or 99, can't be any less % alcohol. Okay, it's really important. That's the only way this will work. That's the only way it will activate. And these little pans appear to be about half full, but they're supposed to be. Okay, so that's so that you can work with the product. This is not like a face paint where it would be all the way to the top and you're dipping a brush. This is literally where you're mostly going to be using dabs with the sponge applicator. Okay, so that being said, I love the range of colors, and after seeing all the tutorials, all of these colors are necessary for bruises. This palette was $80, is $80. What's the was about? It's $80, and this was from Nigel Beauty Emporium, where they sell special effects stuff here in Los Angeles. They're over in North Hollywood. I live in Sherman Oaks, so it's right down the street. What? So that being said, on Amazon, this very same palette was $80. So price-wise, it's $80, just legit. There is a smaller palette, which I was curious about. It's like the mini version of this. It has the same colors, but like the cups are about half the size. So this palette literally comes down to about half the size. It's kind of like a pocket size. I saw it at the store. It was, I want to say $59, and that's what I saw it online for too. So same price. The reason I chose the bigger one was because I know I'm going to be using it a lot. I wanted to just pay the extra $30 to get more, and I'm really glad I did. So the smaller size, yes, you still get the same colors, but each one is about half the size. And I really wanted room to get my sponge in there and dip and dab. And I didn't want to have to squeeze into a little container. So that's why I chose a larger size. And I just think it's so super cool. Over here too, you have the lid for when you dab into the color. You touch it onto the lid first so that your sponge isn't so immediately saturated with the color. You kind of like dab it off. Kind of like with makeup, how you put it in the eyeshadow and you tap it off to tap off the excess. this is what you would use the top for. And it's really cool how it's labeled the same colors that are here. So you're always like, you got your A game on, you know what I'm saying? What? This is so cool. Okay, so I'm really happy I got this. I'm going to do the tutorial. I also bought this this blood because I have to do bruises and cuts. My total with the alcohol, I think the alcohol was about $10. There's no price and I just grabbed it. But my total with the blood was like $103. And that is, yeah, it was like $103 plus tax, you know, good times. This stuff isn't cheap, but I also understand that this will last a long time. I saw other special effects artists say that they've had this palette for a good 4 years, even after using it a lot. Okay, so it's worth the money if you guys are going to do something like that. So let's get into it. At Nigel, there's a special effects department. So I went there and I asked the guy, I said, I go, what about the alcohol? In all the tutorials I've seen, everybody says use the alcohol, dip the sponge in, but they never showed how that was supposed to be. So what he said is just take a little bit in the cap. Because I was like, do I need to buy a dropper? Do I have a spray bottle? And he said, take this, let me smell it. Ooh, okay, very strong. I also read that this is flammable. So you want to have ventilation, number one, and absolutely no flame, no cigarettes, no smoking, no anything that could set this off. Okay, and there's the saw. Aww. Okay, I'm gonna pour this in the cap. A tiny little bit, he said, just a little bit. So that was like, I don't know if y'all can see this. You can't really see that. And then I'm gonna actually pour it into one of the colors real quick, and I'll show you how that looks. I'm doing it for the first time myself here, so we're good. Okay, so let's open the palette. I think what I'll first use is the yellow because every bruise needs to start with that bit of yellow, so I'm gonna pour it in. He's like, just pour it in and just kind of let it set for a second. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Now I'm gonna prepare the sponge. Okay, let's prepare the sponge. You want to get a little wedge sponge. You're going to use several of these to create a bruise and pinch out these little pieces. Just pinch it right out to create an uneven application surface. Okay, so I'm just pinching it out. Can you guys see that? Let me see if a shadow can get on there. No. And there's the saw. Woohoo! Good times. Quick tip about the alcohol that you're using. When you do a bruise around the eyes, be very careful because you're using this very strong alcohol. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken little chunks out of the center, but also I made the edges a little uneven. That saw is killing me. Okay, regarding the alcohol, putting the lid back on, there's always just that little bit of residue that comes out, so have like maybe a little tissue with you and just kind of wipe it down. Wipe off your desk, your table, whatever you're working with, just to keep everything nice and solid. So again, being careful around the eye. I have to do actually face bruises, so I'm going to start here and see actually what it feels like too to be the person having it applied to. So let's go. I'm going to dive right into the yellow. Now that it's been sitting for a little bit, I'm going to see how this works. I'm doing this for the very first time with you guys. Okay, so I'm dabbing it just like that. I think I will dab a little bit onto the palette side because what you want to do with a bruise is build up the color. I'm going to start super light. I'm going to grab a mirror. So super light, you never want to start your bruise like super duper heavy. You want to just build and build and build. So let me just start by dabbing so that you can almost barely see it. I can smell the alcohol, but I think like if I was the actor, I wouldn't be dying, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be like, you know? So, cool. I'm gonna dab a little bit more, get a little bit more of that color. Every time I dab, I'm going to just automatically touch, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do. And then if I need a little bit off of where I touched, I can actually get the pigment from there instead of the little well. Okay, so putting a little bit of yellow to indicate where a bruise would impact here. We're going to build color and it's going to spread out. That's my first layer of yellow. Now I'm going to go in with a bit of this color here, this red. This is called prime red. Okay, so this is a pretty much a new bruise because it's an action scene that I have to do. And then I'm gonna make it darker. I'm gonna make the bruises darker because the second scene that we're shooting is the fighters that it's a day later, so the bruises are actually going to be like a little darker rather than the first time you have an impact. It's going to be a little weltier, a little bit more swollen, more purple, because the capillaries are like that, you know. Okay, so I'm going to pinch out another sponge. Each color you want to use a new sponge. Woohoo! Let's go red. All right, the alcohol's in there. I think maybe because I'm not getting a lot of pigment on my sponge, that might be a good thing. So what I'm gonna do is see what happens if I just use that tiny bit, because I just want to start spreading out the vibe. You know, the vibe is an impact bruise. I want little bits of red, and I'm gonna be building. I'm leaving the center pretty much just with that tiny little layer of yellow, so that gives the illusion of impact and something being swollen. I could also add a cut there. And so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna touch the red again, see if I get more on there. Yep, there's a little bit more. So that time I didn't dab it off, and I'm seeing a little bit more color show up. So the whole point is to build, okay? We're gonna go back and forth between yellow. We're gonna add some purple, some blue, but I'm gonna keep the center pretty safe. And there's the saw again. So I'm going to go in now, same process, so we don't have to repeat that. I'm going to put it on time lapse, but I'm going to add just a bit of blue to start giving a sort of purpley effect. So that's what you will see right now in time lapse. Okay, so now grabbing a very clean, brand new sponge, I'm going to actually touch a little bit onto that blue so that it blends. And I did cut the little holes out too, or I pulled them out. I pulled out the little holes because you want this to blend. The alcohol is going to dry pretty quick. If you're not on it, if you don't have a clean one ready to go, it could dry on you before you got a chance to blend it. So just have some of these ready to go and blend it out. And you're going to notice just by layering and layering and layering, it's going to look more and more realistic. So I need to have a punch bruise. So I'm really focusing on the sensitivity of the eye. You might want to have your actors close their eyes, or if you're doing it on yourself. I did feel some of the alcohol fumes. It didn't make my eyes water or anything like that, but if you're on set, just ask your actors to close their eyes. I'm going to go back in now with a little bit more of the yellow because I want to just even this out. The yellow is kind of like what your skin does first, like the undertones of an impact. You have to think of, first of all, the type of injury, the angle of the injury, the age of the actor, or if you're, you know, doing a costume for yourself. How did this happen? How did this bruise happen? Okay, so this would be a punch. I'm doing a punch scene. And so I'm just dabbing and dabbing, lightly dabbing the yellow, which is blending everything else, as well as just adding itsy teeny tiny bits of color. And when you guys do makeup art, all those little bits add up. All the little times you stipple or change a little slight little thing, it all adds up and it matters towards your final look. So we don't want to go in heavy. We want to go in just dabbing and dabbing and layering and layering. So this might be an initial sort of impact. I think what I'll do is actually grab my clean sponge and touch the center just a little bit more and get that center to highlight. Now that looks even like a little bit of swelling has happened. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to still, I think, use the same red brush because I'm kind of done with this sponge. And I put alcohol in the deeper red. I'm going to touch a little bit of that, dab off because I just want a tiny bit. This actually looks a little bit purple. And there's the saw. So what I am noticing is throughout this tutorial, I'm putting that little bit of alcohol in there and I'm just kind of letting it sit on the pigment. But even the alcohol evaporates rather quickly. So I keep having to add just a tiny bit more here and there. I'm going to go back into the light red that will look sort of pinkish and add some more surround. Now I have my main bruise. I'm just going to add some red up here because I feel like we need to have some more broken capillaries. go up into the eye area. Okay, now I'm quickly gonna switch to my blue. I'm gonna dab it. Dab, dab, dab. Dab, dab, dab. Add just a touch. Quickly grab my blender, which is clear of any other colors. And tiny bit of yellow to get some more skin effect up here. And then blend that out. This is just gonna look gnarly. In this fight scene, these two girls have fought off an attacker successfully. So this isn't to glorify violence, it's actually a success story, which I'm like digging. I'm gonna add a little bit more of that. A tiny bit more of the dark. You wanna sort of simulate where the blood would have pulled up. Like if you've got broken capillaries, would it have pulled up over here? Most likely. So the reason you want to pull out those little dots with your fingernail is to never have a sharp edge. You want to avoid that. Like, see that? I want to smudge that or even or something. That's too intense. Oh, that's a good. The alcohol dries pretty quick, if you guys can see that. So I think I'll just kind of add some yellow to make it look like the impact happened. And there's the saw. I tell you, man. What I'm gonna do here is see if this works. I've never tried this. I'm gonna dip my finger in the alcohol and see if my finger can blend that out, because the alcohol actually removes the makeup too, so why not, right? It worked. It worked. Nice. Now that's the effect I wanted. Yay! Tra-la-la! So this is my initial impact bruise. I'm really happy with how it turned out. When I do the black eye and I go into the inner eye to really make that look crazy, I'm not gonna use this product. I'm not gonna use anything alcohol activated. I'm gonna use a whole different product that is cream based and paint that in there so that the alcohol does not upset the eye, because it really will. It'll get too close to the eyeball. So be sure you keep this away from any mouth looks or any eyeball looks. I do have to do a lip cut, and I'm going to use makeup for that, and that's also why I bought this blood. That'll be a whole different tutorial. Oh, I can't wait to do that. So anyway, you guys, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for watching me, and thank you for my fellow YouTubers for all your amazing information. You were so helpful. I am loving this palette. So this is what the aftermath looks like. I basically just use primary colors blended, and there you go. That's a fresh bruise. If you guys are going to go into a one-day-old bruise, a week-long, you know, a cut that's healing, that would be a whole different look. And I'm going to have to go heavier on this for the second shoot. This is just first impact, like, whoa, you know, first impact blows. So thank you guys so much. Be sure to subscribe. Look forward to seeing you on my subscribers list and on my next videos. Please be sure to leave your comments. I love to see your comments, and I always reply. And if I don't, I will, I promise. It just means I'm doing something else, but I get back to them. So thank you for watching and subscribing. And give me a thumbs up if you're feeling the love. Okay, take care. Bye. And there's the saw. Perfect timing. Ay, ay, ay. Hey guys, I forgot to tell you that this product, the reason why it's one of the best is it will set through sweat. It won't smudge. You know, you're good because it's alcohol activated. And the way you remove it is with a makeup remover. You could use alcohol, but I mean, we were all voting for makeup removers. And then definitely go moisturize your face after you wash. Moisturize your face because you have just applied 99% alcohol. So just be sure you're not allergic, okay? But otherwise, this palette, I was so happy to find out that they are actually cruelty-free and vegan. So if those things matter to you too, this is the awesomest palette ever for bruises. Okay, take care. Bye.